Andy, I decided to make a video because there was a lot of confusion on different things. Okay, so vehicles, the only real vehicle I have experience with where the bass gets changed as you turn up the volume is a Ram truck. And what it does is when you're listening to your music and you got your EQ set just however you want, you start cranking it up a little bit, and it's like sounding really good. But after you get to a certain volume, the bass just kind of falls away because it's trying to protect components. Before it starts clipping, it'll start cutting signal to the low end. Um, so if and the best way to see that is to use like a digital RTA where you can actually look at the signal coming from the head unit, and as you turn up the volume, everything will remain flat or whatever it's set at on this particular vehicle, and as you go up higher, everything will continue to rise, except for at one point the bass will just quit rising while everything else is going up. Now, if you take your Kicker Key and you set that up, it's going to set your time alignment, it's going to set your levels, it's going to set your phase, it's going to try to flatten out that factory signal. But the one thing it does is once it gets those settings figured out, they're locked in. So if you take a digital RTA to that on the output of Kicker Key, you will see that nice flat line or flat signal coming out of it. And as you turn up the volume, it's what it's doing is it's adjusting. It's got those settings in there, but it does not fix that bass drop off. So you're going to see that flat signal as you're turning up the volume, and then you're going to see everything rise, but the bass part is going to just kind of hit a wall, and it's not going to keep going up because it's just adjusting. The adjustments it's making are the adjustments that it came up with when you set up the machine, and you didn't do it when the volume was cranked. You did it mid volume or whatever. So the technology that's designed to fix that, one of the technologies is Accubass, which is not part of an Epicenter. Accubass, what happens is there's multiple settings that you adjust, but you turn up the volume, and then you find that spot where the bass starts dropping off, and you make an adjustment on your Accubass. It says, okay, this is the volume that you're going to start doing your thing. And then after that, you have to adjust and figure and set the ratio that it corrects it at, because every vehicle is going to be a little bit different. So then you make an adjustment that sets the scale at which it corrects that bass drop off, and set properly at the end. It's supposed to keep that line flat from one volume all the way up to max volume. It's supposed to be a flat signal, or whatever signal you set it at, but it's gonna rise linearly. It's you're not gonna see anything drop or rise when you do it if it's set properly. What an Epicenter does is, if you imagine, if you listen to a lot of older music, older rock, you'll notice that the tone of a kick drum is higher than, say, the digital kick drums that we have today, or whatever they do to make them a little deeper. And that tone oftentimes falls into the range that your mid bass needs to help with. And there ain't no bass head out there, real bass head, that's running everything flat. They got a 4,000 watt amp running to their subs, and they got 200 watts running everything else. So a lot of people who have a bass head setup will complain that they need more mid bass because some of that stuff just doesn't hit as hard as they'd like it to. And what the Epicenter does is it will take that tone. Say if a kick drum, a kick drum has a frequency of sound coming out of it. It's some high, some low. And say if that kick drum, the peak of that signal is like at 80 hertz. Part of that kick drum needs to be reproduced by the mid bass. Part of it gets reproduced by the sub, and it just does not ain't no bass head happy with it. They just ain't. So what the Epicenter does is it takes that 80 hertz signal and it shifts it and it reproduces it lower, where the subwoofer actually is starting to shine, and it'll make that kick drum deeper. The subwoofer will play it, and it'll kick the back of your head. Whereas without it, you're sitting there going, "Man, I need more mid bass. I need more mid bass." And this doesn't fix every song, and it isn't for every type of music out there. It'll still say if you got it adjusted a certain way, it's still going to take that bass drum that you don't want amplified by 4,000 watts, and it can amplify that, and you're not going to like the sound of it. But everybody says 80s rock, 70s rock, it helps that, and it does. A lot of bass heads have a sound, have a collection of songs that they prefer to play on their system because it's like, this really rocks on my system. And you have to pick the songs that plays well with your system. But with something like an Epicenter, you can now add more songs to that list of stuff that sounds good on your system, and you're not going to be running it all the time. You're not going to be running it for all your music. You're going to be reaching down and turning that knob down for modern rap because you don't need it. But it's handy because it's got a little bass. It's got a little knob here that you can adjust. The Epicenter Mini has both a knob for controlling the amount of Epicenter influence, and it also has a subwoofer volume knob. So that's really nice, and they're less than 200. I think I paid like 150 for mine, and it's got all the adjustment right here at my fingertip. And if I'm listening to, say, AC/DC, listening to an album, I'm making a quick tweak for the first song, and the whole album sounds good. It's a song by song tweak. It's just like with your bass knob, you're gonna be turning it up and down all the time depending on the song. But this just, I guess, in conclusion, the Epicenter is not for all music, but the music that you use it on, it really helps, and makes some songs hit a lot harder. All right.